All right. For those of you who are not into bobsledding or figure skating, we give you an alternate entertainment and programming vehicle tonight here at the Voice of College Football. Welcome in post Super Bowl 54. Thought it would be a fun time to talk the NFL and, of course, college football, always college football with all of you football fans, regardless of your preference. Following an epic Super Bowl, the Rams win their second all-time Super Bowl and deprive the Bengals of their first ever as Cincinnati falls to 0-3. And the Rams, both Los Angeles and St. Louis, let's see, they lost to the Steelers in 80, and then they had the two Kurt Warner-led Super Bowls, of course, a win and a loss against the Titans and Patriots. Lost a couple years ago to the Patriots again and get this win. So I guess it is now 2-3, I believe, for the Rams in the Super Bowl. We're taking your calls, your comments about the Super Bowl tonight. And of course, we always talk college football here at the Voice of College Football. And if you want to relate the two, the Super Bowl and college football, we just, of course, had Matthew Stafford of Georgia win a first ever Super Bowl for the University of Georgia at quarterback. Fran Tarkington lost 3. And at quarterback for LSU, if anybody can name me the other LSU quarterback to have started a Super Bowl, you're pretty good, because that's kind of my thing, Super Bowl trivia. It has always been my thing. And so I've known this for a long, long time, and it's been a long, long time. But there has been one other LSU quarterback, and he also lost his one Super Bowl appearance. Joe Burrow may be back, though. Really good football game, really good NFL postseason, arguably the greatest of all time. Maybe it's not even arguable. Maybe just flat out the greatest NFL postseason of all time. The last 7 games were just remarkable. So we can dive into it, talk about the winners and losers and why it all happened. Aaron Donald, of course, took over the final drive with the run stuff and the pressure on Joe Burrow to force the incompletion that ended the game. Let's see what everybody's talking about here at the Voice of College Football. I want to remind everyone to please hit the like button. Sometimes surprises me how many or how few people hit the like button. It's simple. It's easy. If you enjoy the content, even if you don't agree with me, hit the like button. It's usually like less than 10% of the people that watch the video hit the like button. So that's an easy thing to do. Doesn't cost you a penny. Also, we've got the Super Chat available, and, of course, Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App. Just search MarkRogersTV, Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App if you would like to bypass YouTube and contribute there. Real quick before we take this first call here at the Voice of College Football. Let's go all the way back. Yakov 22, Matthew Stafford is a place in Canton. Whoa, hey. That might be a little premature. But most Super Bowl winning quarterbacks do make it to Canton. We can certainly count the ones that did not. Jim McMahon comes to mind. Mark Rippon, others. The man here thinks the trophy should be named the Lombardi Belichick Trophy. How about the Lombardi Landry Trophy? Huh? 2022 Rams about to become 2020 LSU if Aaron Donald and Sean McVay retire. Sean McVay is going to retire. Sean McVay? Who did win the Super Bowl MVP? Because Aaron Donald seemed to be pretty well contained for most of the game. And then he came to play in the fourth quarter. He had technically a sack, the one play that he knocked Joe Burrow out of bounds a yard short of the line of scrimmage that caused a little fracas on the sideline for absolutely no reason. But then for the last couple drives, Aaron Donald was the man. But I did not see who won the Super Bowl MVP. My guess would be Matthew Stafford. He had statistically a good game. He didn't throw a pick. He must have thrown 2 touchdown passes. Jordan says Joe Burrow should have thrown to T. Higgins more. Of course you say that, Joe Bo. Of course you say that. Let's get to the phone lines right here at the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line first up?
Hey, Mark, it's still real MVP. How you doing?
It sure is. How's it going, man?
Good. I didn't realize you wanted to talk about the Chiefs 49ers Super Bowl, but I mean, as a fan of Kansas City, I'll be more than happy to talk about it.
Did I mention that?
Well, you got Super Bowl 54 up there.
Oh, Super Bowl. What are we in now? 56?
56.
I thought it was 54. Yeah.
No, it is 56.
I always, this has been something that I don't obviously keep track of. I usually just name the year. I could keep track of the first 20 or so. And then after that, I was like, I don't know what's 43 and what's 47. And okay. Thank you to Real MVP. Super Bowl 56. We can talk about the Chiefs-Niners game. Sure. Let's do it. Sure. Super Bowl 56. I'll get that up there for you. Bam. Whoop. Why didn't it save? I did it. Super Bowl 56. There we go. We're all lined up now. Our graphics coordinator got it together. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. The Super Bowl MVP, I thought, is Cooper Kupp.
Is that who won it, or you think he should have won it?
No, he won it.
Oh, he won it. Okay. All right.
What is your reaction by having a wide receiver win it twice since Super Bowl 50?
Super Bowl MVP. So that would have been the Julian Edelman performance, correct? A couple of years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. Julian Edelman, Fred Biletnikoff, Lynn Swann, Deion Branch, Jerry Rice. Those are the wide receivers I'm coming up with off the top of my head. Santonio Holmes. I'm fine with it. I thought that there were three guys that could have won it, and it was more so the Rams defense than Aaron Donald, and I didn't think he had a great game until the last 3 or 4 drives. He started to rev it up and made the 2 plays that ended the game. But in Matthew Stafford, when your offense scores 23 points, it wasn't his fault. The Bengals defense played well, and they couldn't run the ball. So, by the end of the game, he was also already missing Robert Woods. Then Odell Beckham Jr. gets hurt. His tight end, can't think of his name, who was second on the team in catches to Kupp. He missed the game too. So Matthew Stafford, he would have been my selection, I guess. Yeah, but I'm good.
Well, it's kind of, I think what they're trying to do over recently is they're trying to buck the narrative that quarterbacks are the only people that win this award.
Could be.
It's the diversity. I mean, Von Miller won it. I think that was Super Bowl 50. He won it.
Yeah, he did.
He's a defensive player. So ever since then, we got 3 non-quarterbacks. I don't know when the last time that happened is, but that's got to be pretty far back ago. And, Mark, every Alabama fan, since this is a college football show, told me if your best wide receiver gets injured, you got no shot to win the game. But, I mean, I think the Rams kind of proved that wrong tonight with Odell Beckham Jr. getting hurt and still winning the game.
You make a point there. I guess it is possible to overcome injuries at wide receiver and still win a championship.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like you should have some sort of depth at all your positions in order to be a good football team.
How about that?
Yeah, I know. How about that? And I know Aaron Donald has mentioned, or he was asked about retirement, and he said he didn't want to talk about Andrew Whitworth, who's an offensive tackle, Hall of Famer for sure. Multiple Pro Bowlers. He's 40. He's the oldest guy in the NFL. And he said in an interview before the game saying he'll be the oldest player for a week, which is a not so subtle hint that it is his last game. So if both of those players retire, do you think this is the a one-hit wonder team, or do you think they could be like the Chiefs and make it back here again?
Well, I think that they've already proven that they're not a one-year wonder. So this is a second Super Bowl appearance in 4 years. I think that they've got a tremendous organization, and if they're still committed to that, that begins with ownership. Ownership made a commitment to ownership gave the resources, and obviously the front office was dedicated to winning and going out and getting a free agency kind of team, going out and getting Jalen Ramsey and Odell Beckham Jr. and Von Miller to go get those guys to win. So I don't know the contract status of those guys. I don't know the cap limitations, and I don't follow the NFL to that degree to know, but they keep this group together. Sure, they can keep winning, but they play in a difficult conference.
Oh yeah, most difficult division too in football. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo is probably the worst quarterback out of the 4 teams.
Yeah, and he's not going to be around.
I'm saying something that, well,
he's gone.
Okay, Trey Lance then. You still got Russell Wilson in the division, Kyler Murray. I mean, these quarterbacks aren't, these are above average quarterbacks. So it's tough to win in that division. And the Rams prove why they're the best team in football this year by not only winning the toughest division, but don't overcome an adversity. And Mark, I got to ask you, if in the divisional playoff game, the Rams blew a 27-3 lead before they had 2 plays to kick a game-winning field goal. What is the resiliency, and how do you think that would be the defining moment of the playoffs for the Rams?
Yeah, it is the defining moment. Because if you're on the road and you've blown a 27-3 lead, and you're, certainly the team just went to a Super Bowl 2 years ago, but most of the key players that handle the ball, Cooper Kupp was obviously injured that season, and Matthew Stafford was in Detroit. So in terms of them proving that they could play big in a big game in the postseason, that had not occurred yet. And then you're playing the greatest of all time, and he and his team come back to tie a 27-all. You're on the road, all the momentum up against you. And if you turn the ball, either if you get a quick 3 and out or you got to go to overtime, it just feels as though, how in the world do you win this game? And for them to pull off the one play, that bomb up top at saved the season. That was the defining moment. Absolutely.
And I mean, especially with the NFL overtime rule, I mean, Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills Mafia will tell you all about it, how you may not get the ball in overtime. And I don't want it to come down to a 50-50 chance to win the game. But I also want to come in here and just congratulate the Bengals as a Chiefs fan for an incredible season. Mark, I would like to ask you about the LSU connection, the Burrow-Chase connection. What is this duo in terms of both college and pro? Where would it rank for you? Because this is unbelievable to me, what they've been able to do.
Well, in terms of a NFL duo, they're not even close to being on the list yet. It's only been 2 years, so we could line up all sorts of duos that are way more accomplished than they are at the NFL level. Now, at the collegiate level, it was basically 2 seasons, and of course, the one season was the season everybody points to because they won a national championship and put up ridiculous numbers. So they're high on the collegiate list. They're way up the board, and they can lay claim to greatest duo in the history of college football for one season. They have that argument. In the NFL, they got a long, long way to go.
I would agree with that. And I know the Rams, a lot of people didn't root for them just because they were bought, like you were mentioning earlier. But is there being proud for like individuals like Matthew Stafford, who had to suffer a decade playing on the Lions.
Yeah.
Aaron Donald, who's this great player who's never won it. Jalen Ramsey, great player, never won the Super Bowl. Is there, like, do you think people rooted for the individuals more than this team?
Yeah, I think you make a good point, because collectively, I think, and I'm just conjecturing to a certain degree, that much of America looks at Los Angeles and thinks, even though it's not a football powerhouse, and of course this is only their second Super Bowl win, and that wasn't even one in Los Angeles. So it's Los Angeles's first Super Bowl win. The Raiders won one there, but it's not like it's title town in the NFL, but just that there's a inordinate amount of attention and celebrity in LA, and they've got all this going for them, and too much attention, too much hype, that a lot of people are automatically going to root for a Midwestern city over LA. Plus, as you mentioned, because of the way the team was acquired, and it's just hitting me right now that I actually have kind of Rams colors on that I didn't notice before, that people would be rooting against that. My son in particular mentioned that to me a long time ago, way before the Super Bowl, months ago, that he didn't like the Rams. But if you look at the individuals, so let's understand, these individuals come from all over the country, come from all different types of backgrounds, and just because they play for LA doesn't mean that they are LA guys. They come from all over the place. And so you mentioned, Matthew Stafford. I've never had anything against Matthew Stafford. I've never had anything that necessarily drew me to or wanted me to root for him. He's pretty much just been a guy that has enormous talent that doesn't move the needle for me one way or the other in terms of, again, rooting for or against as being some great guy or some knucklehead, either one. But he seems like a good guy now that I've heard a little bit from him. He's again, I'm not going to vouch for him, but just that he persevered. He comes in from Detroit. And so I do like to see different people win. And so he checks that box. Aaron Donald's arguably the greatest player in the NFL. And to see him win, again, I've got absolutely no rooting interest for these people. I don't know anything about them as people. But Aaron Donald, as a NFL legend who's going to be in the Hall of Fame, he checks the box of Super Bowl champion. You mentioned Whitworth, who most likely is going to retire. It's remarkable that as an offensive lineman, he joins Jerry Rice and Tom Brady as the only 40-plus aged players to start a Super Bowl. And so it's nice to see him win as well.
And the final thing I got to ask you is, if you're a Georgia fan, how great of a month has it been? I mean, you won the national championship in college football, and in the NFL, Matthew Stafford, who's one of the most loved quarterbacks in probably Georgia history over the modern era, wins a Super Bowl. Like, how are they feeling tonight, Mark?
He might be the most beloved because they certainly don't seem to beloved across the board their current national championship quarterback for some reason I don't get. It all depends on the fan, because as we see here all the time when we talk about the NFL, there are certain people who have that college and NFL love, and other people could care less and don't care about the NFL. So once their guys move on, they don't pay too much attention. So, all right, man. Well, we appreciate you stopping by and leading us off.
Yeah, it's good talking to you. Always hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let's get Mark's channel to 34,000 subscribers.
There we go. Thanks, man. Have a good night.
No problem.
All right. I'd like to get to these other calls. Let's line them up here at the Voice of College Football. Welcome in.
Hey, Mark.
Hey.
Mark, this is Sean.
Sean, what's going on?
Oh, not too bad. Not too bad. Just watched my Bengals in the Super Bowl, and certainly thought it'd be quite a while. until I didn't know if I'd ever get this opportunity, really. So, I mean, obviously a disappointing ending, but
Yeah.
hell of a season. You know, to really salt too much, I think would be kind of ridiculous at this point.
Well, you can be disappointed about the game, but still take pride in the effort and the season.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would have liked to see the game kind of end differently. I mean, that game-winning drive was so spotty, was so questionable, and then that the game management I thought at the end there was not good by whoever was calling the plays, whoever was coordinating it. But, you know, at the end of the day, they couldn't block. Aaron Donald should have been the MVP, hands down. Even when he wasn't, I heard you say, like, he was kind of well contained in the first half. Even when he wasn't, like, the one making the plays, he made the plays. I mean, he was pushing the pocket and allowing rush lanes for other people to get in there and put pressure on Burrow. They were doubling him. In the first half, I think LA was afraid to blitz. So, you know, 4-man rush, Donald was being doubled on every play. And as soon as they got a little more creative, and gave him one-on-one opportunities. That was like the end of it. Nobody on the Bengals O-line can block him like ever, one-on-one at all. And that was the difference in the game, I think. That was, and he clearly, Cooper Kupp had I thought a fairly routine, kind of pedestrian game all around, even though, like, at the end he has 2 touchdowns. There wasn't anything he did that was overwhelming or outstanding to me. And I thought they missed that one big time. Donald was a way, way bigger factor in this game than Cooper Kupp was.
Well, the impressive thing about Cooper Kupp was that they needed him more than ever because of the other injuries to the receiving core. But I was telling my son as we were watching the end of the game that Aaron Donald's the best player on the field, but we already knew that, and he was playing like it, especially toward the end of the game, making plays. He made the 2 plays that ended it, but even before that, was a force. So yeah, I go with Donald, but I don't have a huge issue with it. But I didn't see Cooper Kupp's final numbers, but I would agree with you. But I also think that Cooper Kupp's numbers are emphasized, or should be emphasized, because that he had to be the guy. He's always the guy, but he especially had to be the guy.
Yeah. I mean, the Rams offense, when OBJ went down, it definitely took a step back, right? And he made the plays when he needed to. And I hate to ever keep mention things like this. How much of an impact and legacy do you think the officiating in this spot? Because they had some really bad misses in this game. Like, egregious.
Yeah. Well,
the T. Higgins touchdown, I mean,
well, sure.
He clearly just ripped Jalen Ramsey's face right off. And then that call, it was both ways. Jamar Chase, the first half, had the big touchdown, went to the ground at the 11, got up, ran to about the 3. Clearly was not touched. Clearly was not down. There's just no question about it. And they marked it at the 11. Clearly just an egregious miss right there. And then that call on Logan Wilson. Yeah?
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. Obviously that holding call on Logan Wilson would have forced a 4th and goal from the 8 or the 9. That was not a hold. There was no hold there. I mean, that was not a penalty. And that was textbook coverage. And they threw the flag in. I mean, odds are that probably cost them the game because, you know, I mean, the way the Rams offense was going, they probably weren't going to convert that 4th and 8, 4th and 9. And so I mean, like, again, I mean, it's been like this all season, just incompetent officiating across the NFL, just ruining games. I don't know. So I think that's going to have a huge legacy in this game. The legacy of this game is going to be marred by just terrible calls. Both ways.
Yeah, so the T. Higgins play, that's also disappointing because it's such a huge play and because it's in space. They're not missing a play in traffic. It's two guys out in space and it's clear. Now, they're paid to catch those things. I'm not. I didn't see it in real time. I was like, what happened to Jalen Ramsey? Did he bump into him and just fall down, or did he trip? Why did he just go to his knees?
It's weird. It's weird. The best cornerback in the NFL just all of a sudden just completely trips over himself. It looked weird in real time to me too.
Yeah. And so then it was obvious what happened. The play with Jamar Chase was odd because I thought the same thing. I thought he got up and was able to run the ball down to the 3. And I don't remember the network making any comment about it, replaying it, nothing.
No. Yeah, I mean, like, and in college, he would have clearly been down at the 11, but it's a different rule. He was, and so I mean, I don't know. Hopefully, I just, again, obviously, I'm biased, I'm partial, but I mean, in general, I'm just upset when any game, when the athletes, when the refs are remembered at all for anything that happened in the game. And I think they will be in this one. And I mean, really, some of the mistakes, they're not even, they're not anything you can chalk up to just acceptable human error. It's just, these were bad calls, blown calls. And these are supposed to be the best, the very best at this job ever, and that's that. So one last thing I want to say, growing up, I'm a Bengals fan, was born in Southern Ohio, born in Dayton. All my family's from around there, but I've lived most of my life in Michigan. And it's always seemed to me nobody has like a really balanced opinion on Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
Like every Lions fan either has wanted to cut him, want to trade him for years, get rid of him. He's a bum. We're never going to win anything with him. Or they think, no, he's a truly, truly elite quarterback. He's up there with Rodgers and Breeze and Brady. It's just that this dog poop organization is just holding him back. And I've always thought, this season kind of vindicated to me what I think he actually is. I think he's always been, a borderline top 10 quarterback, a very good one. You don't trade him for no reason, but things have to be pretty darn perfect for you to win it all with him. I don't think he's carrying a lackluster organization. And this is one of the most talented rosters I've ever remember. And I mean, obviously the pro Stafford people are, thumping their chest out and say, "Oh, look at this. As soon as Stafford leaves, he goes right to the Super Bowl." And I've been telling people, well, you have a quarterback right now who did the same thing with this roster, with kind of, with this coach and a similar roster.
Sure.
He hasn't done anything yet until now actually winning the game. He hasn't done anything that Jared Goff didn't do in the same situation. So obviously this is a really well-run, machine that they've got in Los Angeles. Just wondering, what's your take on Stafford?
My take, when you bring up those three guys that are the three best of the era, now that Peyton Manning's gone, and obviously Drew Brees as of 2 years ago, that Brees, Brady, and Rodgers are the three best guys. And one thing that separates all of them is they don't make horrendous mistakes. They don't even make hardly any mistakes. And
No.
Matthew Stafford threw 17 interceptions this year, and 12 were dropped. I know that all quarterbacks have multiple passes that could be intercepted every season, but they talked about that. I don't know if they said it as the number one stat in the league, but he could have thrown 22, 23 interceptions, something like that, had half of those balls been caught. So he does make mistakes. He does go through funks in which he isn't extreme. His arm talent is elite, in my opinion.
Without question.
Yeah, both. And that's not just throwing the ball. When I say arm talent, I'm not just talking about you can throw the ball as spin it as with the velocity and throw it as far, but he can throw on different planes, trajectories. And obviously, when I'm talking about arm slots, and I'm also talking about the pace that he puts on the ball and the angles.
Yeah, he can.
He can do
adjust
anything.
his arm angle, like he can. But he throws some of these underhanded almost as hard as Yeah.
But he doesn't show up all the time, and he's not consistent throughout each game at the level that those elite quarterbacks are. At least for me, I think he's in that top 10 range. And has been, even when the numbers didn't show it, or at least the win totals didn't. In Detroit, of course, when he had one decent team around him, he was a controversial play away from beating Dallas in the playoffs and getting them to another round in the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, and that's over 12 years he had, kind of one opportunity to get a significant playoff win. They went to the playoffs 2 other times while he was there and got beat soundly both other times. But like you're talking about somebody in the chat saying, Stafford's in the Hall of Fame, and I think that's clearly not like crazy talk. Right
no,
now.
It's not crazy. No. I just don't think it's for sure.
I mean, if he can put together, like, I think 2 more really, really strong seasons in Los Angeles, it doesn't necessarily have to win another Super Bowl, but maybe he gets to another NFC title game, and I think if he continues on this path, he's not far from being a lock. But it's kind of weird. I mean, coming into last year at this time, you would probably laugh if anyone suggested Matthew Stafford Hall of Fame. What? And now that he's in a better situation, it seems more likely than not, I think.
Well, quarterbacks and wide receivers in the NFL right now are difficult to evaluate from that standpoint because it's such a pass-happy league that if you're good at wide receiver or quarterback, not exceptional, not elite, but you're really good, you're going to just put up ridiculous numbers. And if you stay healthy, then the numbers are going to be pretty startling. All right, man. Well, thanks for the call.
Absolutely. Well, I did want to mention previous. I do know, and I did not have to look up who the other LSU quarterback is. If you
very nice.
Is it okay if I reveal?
Sure, give it to us.
Yeah. David Woodley.
There you go, David Woodley.
Got benched the next season, I think.
Yes, he was not a firmly entrenched starter for the Dolphins. Of course, he took over along with Don Strock for the great Bob Greasy, whose last season was 1980. And Woodley actually played that infamous, or I shouldn't call it infamous, it was a great game, the overtime game against San Diego in the playoffs in 81. And he got benched in favor of Strock, who brought the Dolphins back from 24-zip. And then he did earn his job back in 82 and went to the Super Bowl. I don't even know if he finished that game. He had a 75 or 76-yard touchdown pass to Jimmy Cephalo in that game for one big touchdown, but he only completed like 4 out of 14. And I think he got the hook for the Dolphins. And that was pretty much was not heard of from again. But yeah, that would be other LSU quarterback. Very nice.
The guy who replaced him after they brought in to replace Woodley, did he ever do anything after that in the league?
You're talking about the next year, the guy that took over the next year?
Yeah.
In 83. You know, they say the legend says that he had some kind of quick release. I don't know if he ever really turned out, but they say he could really spin it, but I don't know.
All right. Thank you, Mark. You have a wonderful rest of your night.
Yeah. Appreciate the call. Thank you so much.
Okay.
We would be speaking of one Dan Marino. Yes. Welcome in to the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line?
To the man that gives college football its voice, and for this evening, he's giving pro football its voice.
Yeah.
The great MarkRogers.
David, how are you?
I know. Excellent. I enjoyed the Super Bowl. Thought it was a really good game. I was, as a lifelong Cleveland Browns fan, I was pulling for the Bengals to win. I was rooting for Joe Burrow. I was happy to see all those Buckeyes on the field, and kind of like the fact that Cincinnati had some Buckeyes on the team. 5 if you count Joe Burrow. So I thought it was a good game. The one thing that I think Cincinnati missed some opportunities in the second half. You watched the whole game, I take it, from start to finish, Mark?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I thought the one opportunity is if they could have kicked the game up to a 2-possession lead after they got the interception, after they took the lead to start the second half, would have been huge. And I think that was a huge stop by the Rams there. And then they just had a bunch of empty possessions after that. I think that really just, because the Rams were just hoping to get that one final drive to win it. If they ever could have kicked it up to a 2-possession game, I definitely think it would be curtains for the Rams.
Yeah, it seemed like it. Yeah, I was in that same boat. I thought that was a key drive for the Rams to stay within one score.
I did think that, obviously the advantage in the trenches, totally came about. But, it's interesting. I watching Isaiah Prince play tackle, as being an Ohio State fan for as long as I've been, boy, it doesn't get any better watching him, in pass pro, Mark. Speaking of the Buckeyes, wasn't it that one game against Michigan in the JT Barrett spot game that I seem to remember him getting beat like 3 or 4 times for sacks in that game.
Well, you could say that, and then you could spin forward about a month to the playoff game against Clemson, and he got abused in that game.
Yes, he's had a lot of struggles in pass pro, yeah. I did want to, I found it interesting, with Stafford. I actually do think a plausible case can be made that he is a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's always been a guy that has put up stats in Detroit. And now, if you couple a pretty good statistical career with a Super Bowl ring, it definitely ups your chances of getting into the Hall of Fame.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No question about it.
I don't know, though. Do you, when you look at Stafford, I haven't taken a look at his numbers. You think he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, Mark? I think that's kind of borderline.
Well, it is borderline. That's why I was disagreeing with the earlier comment that he was a slam dunk, surefire Hall of Famer, but also when you were saying that now winning a Super Bowl, he greatly increases his chances of making the Hall of Fame. Both are true in my estimation. He's not a slam dunk Hall of Famer if unfortunately, God forbid, something happened to him and he never played another down in the NFL. I don't know that he would make the Hall of Fame, considering that Eli Manning, a lot of people don't see him as a Hall of Famer with 2 Super Bowl, two historic Super Bowl wins, which of course Stafford, you could say the same thing about him, a final drive touchdown to win the Super Bowl.
Right. Well, once you get to 2 Super Bowl rings, once you win 2 Super Bowls, by the way, one of the better trivia questions of all time, you put one out there for Super Bowl quarterback. I'll put one out there for Super Bowl quarterback. Once you win 2 Super Bowls as a starter, you're definitely in the Hall of Fame. with the exception of one quarterback. Can you name the quarterback that started or won 2 Super Bowls who's
Yes.
not in the Hall of Fame?
Do you want me to blow it for everyone? He wore
Well,
silver
if you
and
want to
black.
put it in the chat, or
Yes, I know who he is. I do. He also won a Super Bowl MVP. He was also the #1 selection in the NFL draft.
He also beat the Buckeyes in the Rose Bowl.
Yes, he
in
did.
1970. Which, I will say this as a diehard Ohio State fan. For Ohio State to claim the 1970 national championship's a little dubious, considering you lost that Rose Bowl to Plunkett. And I say that as a lifelong Ohio State fan.
Yeah, that really shouldn't count.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Usually, by the way, for all these people that debate national championships, it's usually the AP or the UPI that determine national championships for forever, if I'm not mistaken, right, Mark?
Well, I understand your point. It's funny that you bring that up because I'm working on a project right now, and I just was explaining that as I was writing something earlier today. Well, those are the two sources starting in 1936 that most people look at as being the credible determinants of national championships. But why them?
Well, I mean, I just grew up always knowing that there was the coaches poll and then there's the writers poll, right, Mark?
Yeah.
And that's why we would always have so many split national championships going back, for decades there, all the way into the 90s.
I'm just saying, why are their results any more credible than anyone else's? I don't know that they are. I'd have to go year to year. They just gained credibility based on having more attention, more power, more publicity than other rankings.
That's true. Yeah, I just they'd always been up there. Hey, one other comment I wanted to make about Stafford. I guess kind of tying this to a college scene, with you doing college. Wouldn't you say he played on one of the better Mark Richt teams at Georgia, that one team? Like his 07 team was really good from what I remember at Georgia. They were a 2-loss team. Another team with no Sean Moreno and Mohamed Massaquoi. Did he ever play with A.J. Green, by the way, Mark? I think he missed him. Or maybe he played 1 year with them. I
think he played 1 year. I think his last season was the year they beat Michigan State in the Citrus Bowl in 2008. And I think he played with A.J. Green that year.
Yeah, it was the year before the 07 team. That was the year they slaughtered Colt Brennan in Hawaii in the Sugar, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that was actually pretty. That was the kooky year of 07 when everybody was losing games, and it was kind of an interesting year. But it was a pretty good team. That might have been one of Rick's better teams, along with his 2012 team that came up just short against Alabama.
Yeah, Mark Richt had an 02 team that went 13-1, won the SEC championship.
Oh, that's right.
And of course, there were 2 undefeated teams, I think, that you recall that game that played for the national championship. And if one of them would have stumbled, then maybe they would have had an opportunity. The same thing in 05. They only lost 1 game, didn't quite get there. 08, 07, 08. He was in that conversation. And then in 12, if there's a college football playoff during Mark Richt's Georgia tenure, he probably goes to the playoffs at least 4 times.
That's true. Yeah, would have been an interesting. You always have you done that before? By the way Mark done back and done college football playoffs pre-2014.
I have, and we need to do that again. I love doing that. And by the way, A.J. Green and Matthew Stafford did, in fact, play together in 08, 1 season.
Okay. Yeah, Green must have been a freshman then, I think.
56 catches, just about 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they had Massaquoi on that team. I remember he played with the Browns for a few years, and then Moreno at running back. He was pretty good.
Yeah, he had a big year. 16 touchdowns, 1,400 yards. No Sean Moreno. Caleb King.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's good teams over that period of time. I did want to bring up one thing, and last point about this game, Mark. Did you find it interesting? I've seen this in some of the other chats that I've and it's also been questioned after the game here. I saw a couple of the ESPN people question it. That and I don't know about Taylor as a coach going forward for Cincinnati. I think a lot of people have had questions about him. But them running the ball on that 3rd and 1 with like 40-some seconds left, especially with the way their offensive line was playing. I don't know. Did you find it interesting that they ran the ball in that situation and just didn't have Burrow pass?
Yeah, I would have thrown the ball. I was thinking the same thing. I thought it was when your offensive line's getting stuffed that much, and you're just not moving them, then the difference between like a half a yard and a yard and a half, close to 2 yards, is pretty heavy. And it was a solid close to 2 yards that they had to go. So you give it to Joe twice. Really you play the percentages and you can throw it in the flat twice and try to get a yard.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the stat that he was sacked like 70 times this year, which is just unbelievable, by the way, when you stop to think about that. I mean, I knew it was going to be tough for him today. I mean, I agree with that, your previous caller. I think you can make a really good case for Aaron Donald. He was all over the place, especially in that second half, as far as the MVP of this game. I thought it was incredible. But, yeah, I think it's a testament to the Bengals. Got to give them a lot of credit for getting this far with a lousy offensive line. That's why I was commenting during the season that this seemed like a team that was a year away. They needed to, invest in the draft and get offensive linemen and, build that up. But, it's going to be interesting to see with them going forward in that organization because their ownership has always been cheap. Although they did make a good point about, the free agents that they brought in, to help out their defense, which played very well through this playoff run. I think as much as Burrow played really well, their defense was a huge reason, that they got where they were at as far as being this close to winning the Super Bowl. So, I just wonder about that organization, and I hope for Burrow. Well, maybe I shouldn't root too much for Burrow, being a lifelong Browns fan, right, Mark?
Yeah, I think that was the dilemma for most Browns fans. All right, David.
All right, Mark. Well, it's always a pleasure to talk either college or pro football with you. You have yourself a good evening.
Good stuff, sir. Have a good night.
Take care.
All right, let's keep it rolling here at the Voice of College Football. Who's next up?
Hey, Mark, it's George in Portland.
George in Portland. Thanks for specifying that.
Let
me get your banner up.
With George and right. Thank you. Yeah, set up there.
George from Portland. What do you have for us, George? I'm typing your banner as we speak.
I'm watching you live.
Okay, I was kind of assuming that. Did you watch the Super Bowl tonight?
Some of it. Hey, Blank Name said George, and once John said George, and Garrett George said Tampa is a better place to be than Cincinnati for the NFL. Tampa at least has 2 Super Bowl victories, unlike Cincy and the Browns. Good point. If we're going to talk about pro football, that's a good point.
Yeah, the state of Ohio is still 0 for 3.
There's been a lot of talk about rigged in the comment section.
Yeah, what is that?
We're just going to leave it there. We're just going to leave it there.
Yeah,
because,
we are.
We're all still watching it anyway,
I never understood, rigged for what purposes? So who could win what because of why? Like, who's benefiting from this? The NFL's winning regardless.
I don't think a lot of people understand betting. that my brother told me this was a 3-point spread. Is that true?
I saw 5 earlier. I don't know what it was. I didn't keep track of it.
Was it 3 at some point?
I don't know. I saw 5 or 5.5 when the game was first announced.
All right.
I'll
yeah,
give it a look
I wasn't
here.
up on it, but my brother told me it was 3 when he saw it. And he said, if that's true, the bookies just won all the vig. Nobody got paid. Everybody paid 10%. Nobody got nothing. Everybody lost. Is that true?
Well, they didn't lose. They got their money back. If you put $100 on the game,
-10%.
No.
Look, when I used to bet 100, if it was a tie, I paid 10%, and I got the rest. I got 90 back.
No.
If it was no.
I've made many bets in Vegas that were a push, and you get your money back. All of it.
Garrett George said, thanks for the shout out. I've lived in the state of Ohio long enough to know how sports work. I don't know. I think everybody's kind of tired of the half-assed efforts and not seeing players really try. And it's just, it's not like Jim Kick and the Miami Dolphins, or whatever.
Okay, for anybody that doesn't think these players try, watch a game from 40 years ago and then watch a game now. I'm not seeing a difference in the effort level. I hear that all the time.
There's a lot less blood. Anyway, and let me tell you how my day went. I didn't watch any of the pregame. That lasted like 2 days.
Yeah.
I watched not one of the commercials, and I did not watch halftime. And in addition to that, I only watched like 30 plays out of the whole game. That's how I did the Super Bowl this year. I was watching 2 movies at the same time and Shark Tank on my tablet, You
watched 2 movies at the same time, plus Shark Tank.
Right. Every time there was a commercial or halftime or a timeout, I would flip back to one of these 2 movies I was watching because I've seen them before. And I was watching Shark Tank. I got inspired. I have some ideas for us, man.
For us?
From Shark Tank?
Us meaning I'm pointing at me?
Absolutely.
Ooh.
Absolutely.
Right.
Listen, I'm going to go right to the point, right to the jugular vein. You know how you don't have a sponsor?
Yes, I know that.
Like everybody else has. Everybody else has like CBS. Right. Everybody else has CBS. Josh Pate has CBS sponsoring him and Academy Sports.
Hang on. There's a huge difference there. You see who's on the screen right now? This is the company right here versus Josh Pate. Great guy. Love Josh Pate. I've had him on. He's very nice to come on and says he will come on whenever. But Josh Pate works for 247 Sports. That's a whole company.
Right. Now, I'm just saying that's called sponsorship, right?
Yes.
Or he's just an employee, whereas you're independent. But however, what I'm trying to say is this. In the meantime, until you get, which we hope you never get, the big sponsor, we want you to rely on us. Here's how we should do it.
No,
right?
We want a big sponsor. We want big sponsors.
Bite your tongue, George. Better.
Why
everybody should join?
Why do we not want big sponsors? I'm not understanding.
Everybody should, because you have enough followers now. If everybody that follows you, at least 80%, 70%, 50% would go join your Patreon page for $10 a month.
It's only
you could just randomly put our names up there. That would be like 50,000 a month or something,
Well, yeah,
just something.
Half the people,
and then you can take your time.
Oh, I'm doing better than that.
Right.
Actually.
Then you can take your time and find an official known manufacturing company or someone to sponsor you.
I probably shouldn't say this, but Bet Us, I think that's their name. They contacted me the other day on Twitter.
Who?
Bet Us, I think that's their.
Who?
Is that a online betting site? Bet Us. Yeah, I think they're sports betting. Yeah.
Wow.
Bet Us. Yes. We'll see what they have to say.
You know what? Mark, listen to me. I want to put a shout out to everybody listening right now and all your followers. if you ever get a real corporate media sponsor, we got to straighten our shit up and clean ourselves up a little bit. We can't be doing stupid shit in the comment section anymore and getting out of line. Otherwise,
I don't know about
they'll be
that.
going, Mark.
I should agree with you, George,
I don't
actually,
know.
just to get people in line, but I don't necessarily know that that's
I don't
true.
say much crazy shit on Josh Pate's channel. I'm like, I know CBS will block me so quick. You know, it's like go ahead.
I might actually,
Josh Pate.
I might actually prepare for these shows if I had to had some big corporate sponsorships like Dick's Sporting Goods. I may actually put some work and effort and time into preparing for these shows and not just coming on here and hitting the record button and starting to talk.
Right. So as far as food goes today, my Super Bowl day, I ate leftover homemade butter bean soup. Those are large limas, basically, right?
Yes.
You know what that is? I made that because that's like comfort food. You know,
that's comfort food. You're not eating that for your health. Beans are great for you, right? I should eat more beans.
Look, I don't know. They say beans have lectins. It's all rocket science now. I saw a National Geographic thing today. The animals were all eating clay because they just need some of those vitamins and minerals in there, right? And I know clay is one of the healthiest freaking things on earth for medicinal purposes to a human. So it was showing the animals doing it, like 30 different kinds of animals just gouging on clay because it resets your pH balance and it takes all these toxins out of you and you poop it out later. But no one ever told us that. That's like some fringe medical shit in America. People that drink clay or eat clay, and they sell, special clay. It's like very clinically pure from the vast reserves of the Himalayan mountains or where the hell it comes from. Anyway, I had butter bean soup and I made homemade jalapeno cornbread with it. Isn't that great? What a feast.
So I should be able to go to the health store and buy clay that's been purified?
Oh, no, it was just something when I was flipping channels during the Super Bowl. I was on a nature channel and it was on Oregon Public Broadcasting, but it was about animals and they had these spy baby cameras in their eyes. And it was showing all these animals to go to this one place in the jungle and they just sit there and eat clay. And they're all real sketchy looking around because they're afraid a predator's going to jump on their ass. And they all just grab a bunch of clay and start gouging on it. And clay water, too. It's a puddle. You don't know about clay for real? You never heard about this?
No, I've never heard this, that clay is good for us. I had no idea.
When we hang up, Google medicinal clay, or fulvic acid, FULVIC, fulvic acid is another similar substance.
George, I just posted your comment.
Dirt.
I just posted your comment. I have a great business idea for Mark when I get on. You mentioned it, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
It was that we would all join your Patreon for $10 a month and $5 if you can't. We understand. It's fine. I'll probably do $5.
That's how much
proud,
it is.
But $5 or $10 a month. And if 50,000 of us do that, there you go. You have a sponsor.
Okay. Well, I've done that math before. I didn't consider that a business idea. You had me excited there, George.
We need to get it where Coca-Cola calls you. They're like, we hear you just have your people sponsoring you, and we would like to do it also, that kind of thing.
I've got an idea.
I don't know. That's gonna be
I've got an idea. Everybody that watches
that
has a Twitter account should tweet Coke, Dick's Sporting Goods, fill in the blank, and say, you need to sponsor the Voice of College Football, and then put my handle on there. And then if we send thousands of tweets to whoever, all these big companies, then they're going to take some notice. How about that?
I got a better idea. Call whatever the biggest weed store is in America, like in Colorado, Oregon, or California, the biggest weed company that has 84 locations. And you can end your thing by saying, please smoke responsibly, do something different than everybody else.
It always goes back to weed with you,
listen,
George.
In Oregon, in Oregon, it's legal for recreation. I could have got a medical thing 20 years ago, but I just can't ask anybody's permission to pick a weed and smoke it. I'm like, really? So that's the only reason I don't have a
the
medical
phone lines
one.
are jammed, and you're talking about weed.
Okay.
People are getting pissed at me, and they've got every right to.
I was going to go to driving Miss Daisy next. Florida 35, Utah 34. That's what I called to talk about.
Okay, there
Do you
it
have
is.
a prediction?
No, I don't have a prediction.
Do you have a prediction?
I am great at these predictions because I wait till the last minute. All right, George. Thanks for calling.
I've thought about this a long time.
Thanks for calling.
I think Florida's going to put out the effort. I love you. Bye.
Okay. Next up here at the Voice of College Football, and thank you for your patience. Hello.
Hey, how's it going, Mark? This is Emmanuel.
Manuel, how you doing?
Doing well. My two favorite callers right before me, so it was great to hear them.
Before
David
you continue
and
with the call real quick, I just want to make sure there was a super chat on here that I posted for a second, but I lost track of it. So whomever sent that, thank you. I'm sorry that I lost track of it. I'll try to find it. Yeah, go ahead, Emmanuel.
Yeah, I was saying my two favorite callers, David and George. It was great to hear them call in. Even when George goes completely off track, it's great. But as far as like today's game, I want to kind of just go over kind of Stafford. But first things first, I mean, what a play by Aaron Donald. That was super clutch.
Yep.
That was the dunk to the 3-pointer at the last second. That was the last second touchdown level of play, a phenomenal play.
Yes.
Sorry.
Absolutely.
I thought you were going to say, but
thumbs up.
Yeah, I
Sure.
mean, and he did it. I'm a Niner fan, so he did it to us. What was it? 2 weeks prior, he rallied everyone and got the team pumped up and made the stop. But what I was going to talk to you about briefly was basically what everyone's kind of been talking about, Matthew Stafford, and kind of, how good is he? He's been with the Lions so many years and been right outside maybe the top 10, and then wins a Super Bowl with a super team, basically. You've got Cooper Kupp, you've got Odell Beckham, you got, just a phenomenal amount of players. So I was thinking about what would happen if in the playoffs, so you could trade Stafford. Let's say Stafford was on the Bengals and Burrow was on the Rams. I think Burrow wins the Super Bowl. I don't think Stafford makes it to the Super Bowl with that team. How do you feel about that?
Well, I don't think it should be held against Matthew Stafford, whatever we determine, because it's obviously fantasy what we're talking about. Do the Bengals go to the Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford? I think that Burrow, the element of Burrow being able to run the ball and escape the rush, not that Matthew Stafford's a statue, but I think Burrow, because the offensive line was so weak for the Bengals this year, that was a huge difference in how good they were. And Stafford would not have provided that.
As a phenomenal season as Chase has had, was it a mistake not to go after Penny Sewell for the Bengals?
No, they just went to the Super Bowl and came within, they came within 15 yards, 20 yards of tying the game.
Yeah, but you're probably shortening Matthew Stafford's career by 5 seasons with as many hits as he's taken. He took a lot of hits tonight. He's taken a lot of hits all year. That didn't look good when he went to the ground and grabbed his other knee. So I sure hope they plan on taking a lineman in the first round this year. Do you believe that's what they will do?
Yeah, I think that's just the obvious. Even if they have to reach, and you usually don't have to reach for a tackle, there's usually a wealth of top tier tackles there's 3 or 4 at least that are worthy of top half of the first round selection. So there's probably one of those guys that would be the obvious choice for them to take because, yeah, I know that was their dilemma when they grabbed Chase and their personnel department was apparently split, and that's understandable. But they opted for the playmaker, and in the interim, that has paid off. They just lifted a 4-12 team to the Super Bowl. So I'm almost positive that's the worst record in the history of the NFL to reach a Super Bowl from the previous season.
Yeah, they and then what was it? That being said about Stafford, me being a Niner fan, to give him some credit, I believe that if Stafford would have been on the Niners this year, they win. They win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I could see that too. Sure. Garoppolo was awful in the last 2 playoff games.
Yeah, and I take a look at I'm taking a look at the rest of the playoff, kind of just to get an idea of how Stafford would do without all this talent or with other talent. If he would have been with Philly, I mean, I think they lose in the first round as well. If he would have been in Dallas, I think they win. Dallas wins at least one game in the playoffs. Same thing if he would have been with the Cardinals. I think he would have gone. They win. They go far. I think they go to the NFC Championship if Stafford is. And that's no diss to Kyler Murray, who I think is phenomenal. But I think Stafford has that talent and that the experience to take a team like that far. And then with the other, and the Titans, maybe AFC Championship, losing it, they'd go about as far. But then the rest of the teams, Pittsburgh, same thing. I think he loses in the first round. Same thing with the Raiders. Potentially, same thing with the Patriots. But, when you look at the other teams, what do you think if Stafford was in Buffalo? But Josh Allen's a better quarterback than him, I think. And so is Patrick Mahomes, and of course Brady, and of course Rodgers. So he's right up there. So how do you submit? You think Stafford has to win another Super Bowl to get that Hall of Fame jacket?
I'm looking at his numbers, and again, like I told somebody else, if you're a quarterback in this league and you play reasonably well, your numbers pop. He's got he's thrown for 50,000 yards. He's thrown 323 touchdowns. His I would have to match up his passer rating and the efficiency numbers versus everybody else. But his TD to pick ratios are generally really good. Couple years they're marginal, like 29-19, 20-17. But the other years, 21-11 is not great. The other years are like 2.5 or 3-1. And we give a lot of credit to quarterbacks when they win, so that's the argument for the quarterbacks that are placed in the Hall of Fame, that they win a ton of games and have a great record. Well, yeah, he did win a Super Bowl, and we know what the situation was in Detroit, but he's got to take part of the blame for 86 and 95. That's his career record. So he's had a Super Bowl run. So I don't know if I pulled up. I don't think there's anybody that he can be compared to in history that I can think of that won one Super Bowl. You know what? Phil Simms might be a similar call on that. Phil Simms won a Super Bowl MVP, turned in one of the great Super Bowl games in history, completion percentage record, 22 of 25, and played well, was a good quarterback, and you've got to adjust the TD pick ratio because it's not the same as it is now. But Phil Simms had a similar career, although he won a lot more, but he played on better teams. But there's a guy that won a Super Bowl, played a really good Super Bowl game, had a long career, put up stats, but wasn't one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So does he go to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, well, does he go to the Hall of Fame?
Or go to the Hall of Fame? I'm sorry. That's what I meant.
Yeah. Do you think he still needs that one more to kind of solidify that, or he can get in? Like I think you discussed it a little bit, or let's say he just plays 5 more years, doesn't win another one. Is he in?
Yes, I think he gets in because of sheer statistics and a Super Bowl win. You know, if he plays, what is he? He is 33. If he plays 5 years and he plays well, not out of his mind, but he throws 25, 30 touchdowns a year with 10 or 12 picks, and just he's going to throw for, my goodness, if he does that, he's going to throw for over 70,000 yards. He's going to be in the top 3 or 4 in history in passing yardage.
Wow. and in Detroit, that's probably the most impressive thing.
Right now, he's 12th in history in passing yards.
Wow.
And they're playing.
That is impressive. You know what?
They're playing 17 game seasons now. Detroit. Yeah, well, that might have aided it, actually. He was playing from behind every week.
Well, he played with Johnson for a couple of years.
So here's a comparable quarterback, but does not have the Super Bowl win or an appearance, is Phillip Rivers, who has just ridiculous stats. That Phil Simms, that's the only guy I can think of that's kind of comparable. So the quarterbacks ahead of Matthew Stafford on the all-time yardage list are Brady, Breeze, Manning, Favre, Roethlisberger, Rivers, Marino, Ryan, Eli Manning, Rodgers, and Elway.
Yeah, elite company.
The guys behind him are Moon and Tarkington. Yeah, he's headed to the Hall of Fame by just piling up some more stats.
Nice. I'm gonna be interested to see what he does in the next couple of years. But yeah, I think you're right. All right, Mark. Well, I'm gonna let you go. But hey, before I do, who goes number 1 in the NFL draft?
Who's supposed to go number 1 in the NFL draft? I'm trying to think. Who are those people that are being talked about?
Aiden Hutchinson or Thibodeau out of Oregon.
I would really have to dissect the Hutchinson Georgia tape to understand why he was no factor in that game. And I know that they slid protections his way and all of that, double teamed him, but I would really have to look at that tape, because those are the kind of players that he's going to be playing against. Not that he didn't 4, 5, 6 games during a Big Ten season, but still, versus Kayvon Thibodeau always showed to me that's a tough call. I think Hutchinson has a greater motor. Seems like, well, I don't want to knock Kayvon Thibodeau, but Hutchinson never got, was able to play full seasons. Thibodeau did not. He was always getting banged up, nicked up against somebody. All right, man. Well, thanks for the call. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Take care. Bye.
Yeah. When somebody asks me about the NFL draft, I'm a big draft guy in terms of watching the draft. I love to watch the draft for a number of reasons, because I've been in TV for so long and worked at ESPN for 19 years and I didn't work directly on the draft. Like, I was not working on the draft, but I was supervising people working on the draft and all that. So the TV end of it, I enjoy. And then way before I got into TV, when the draft, and I'm going to predate so many people watching right now, when the NFL draft was on Tuesday afternoon, in the early 80s, I remember my mom letting me stay home from school to watch the NFL draft. So I always was fascinated with it, but I no longer keep up with the NFL. So I'm not the guy that like knows what these teams are looking for. I can tell you who the best college players are, but how they project to the NFL, I don't know. So there we are. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line?
Mark?
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, it's Danny. How are you?
Danny, I'm doing well. How's it going tonight?
Well, that's going good. So you saw there's a little bit difference in the Super Bowl tonight. You know what the big difference was? Brady wasn't in it. He was in 10 of the last 20, Mark.
Well, yeah, that all credit goes to him. All credit goes to him.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Classy Joe Montana. Classy Joe Montana, who I watched play in the 80s.
Sure.
Okay, in the 70s. I saw Bradshaw, I saw Aikman, I saw them all. I'm about 10 years before you.
You
so
sure about that?
Here's the deal. Whether you, yeah, pretty sure.
Okay. All right.
You were saying that your mom let you stay home to watch the draft in the 80s. And I was watching it in the 70s.
Yeah, you weren't watching it before 1979 or 1980 actually, because that's when ESPN put it on for the first time. So nobody was broadcasting the NFL draft, but I've got a pretty good handle on everything post 1978 because that's when I started really watching the NFL.
Did you see Montana's comments this week?
No.
He just will not. First of all, let me qualify Brady. Brady, if he had Stallworth and Swan, like Bradshaw did, Brady, if he had all those receivers that Montana had, Brady did what he did with a different team every year. In fact, earlier in your broadcast tonight, people were talking, and you were talking, about how would Stafford do next year, depending on who comes back. Well, those other quarterbacks, Montana, Bradshaw, and Classy Montana, who was a real cool customer, a quarterback. He really was. But Classy Montana, what's he been working on this for the last 10 years? He brought up Otto Graham. He said, well, I think Otto Graham probably, because he won all those championships. I mean, what is this guy just? Why can't he just admit that, for the record, Brady has 7 and he has 4, and Brady didn't get that beautiful set of receivers that Montana had.
True. Yeah. It's also a team game. So I'm not as hung up on number of Super Bowl championships from a quarterback as most people are, because there's 22 guys on the field.
Yeah, but if you're just going to compare the quarterbacks, you have to compare the eras, and it is way, way harder now to win consistently in the NFL.
Why?
I mean, there are some, well, because of free agency. I mean, there are some talented young quarterbacks right now. What, Mahomes and then the guy for the Bills and Burrow. I mean, these guys are talented young quarterbacks, but they're in the same position with free agency and their owners and all that. I mean, what I thought about tonight during the game, the record that's going to be broke is Belichick's record. He's got 6 rings, and you take a young guy like McVay, he can go to any team. He'll be coaching if he wants the next 25 years.
Yeah.
I mean, he could easily pile up 3 or 4, get to me, that's the Brady's, to me, looks with free agency. I don't hey, and you know what? I don't love Brady, and I don't hate him either. But I respect him. I mean, even Michael Jordan had to work with some moving pieces for his 6 rings, and that was a hell of an accomplishment for Jordan. The way he had different guards and all that stuff. But anyway, I just was going to say that because you guys were talking about Stafford too, and you brought up his overall record is what, 86 and 95?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, that's man, I think you're right. I don't think anybody, there's no one on that illustrious list you just gave that's got a record like that. Even Phillip Rivers won a hell of a lot more games than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but one of your other callers today, about 20 minutes ago maybe, he said he didn't see any difference between Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford, about the same thing. Well, guess what? One's got a ring and one don't.
Yeah. I didn't quite take that from him. I think he was basically saying that as a Lions fan that there are 2 different groups of Lions fans. One that say Matthew Stafford was just elite and they just had a horrible team and it wasn't his fault. And then the other was that, okay, he's got all this great talent, but he's overrated. He can't get us to the next level. And that the truth lies somewhere in between.
Well, I think going to the Lions is like getting a death sentence. I mean, the Fords are horrible owners. I mean, they've got a 40-year track record to prove it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, the other thing, to go back into the 70s and 80s, remember back then, you just needed a game manager at quarterback to win the Super Bowl. You didn't necessarily. You brought up a guy. I forgot the guy's name from the Redskins, Ripien.
Yeah.
And then
you're talking
Doug
about
Williams.
90s.
Doug Williams.
Well, actually, Mark Rippon and Doug Williams had tremendous Super Bowl games. Doug Williams threw 4 touchdown passes in 1 quarter.
Yes, but they were neither one's in the Hall of Fame. I mean, they're
sure they're not great quarterbacks.
They were good
for their
game
careers.
managers.
Yeah, I don't really look at them as game managers.
I'm glad Stafford won a ring. I mean, hey, you know what? He spent 12 years in Detroit, for crying out loud. He deserves it, right? Anyway, that's what I think. And then as far as the game goes, I don't know, man. I didn't see interference on that last one. I didn't. It didn't look like the guy, he had his arm behind him, but they showed a couple different angles. It didn't look like he was touching him even.
Well, I see pass interference.
The crucial one?
Yeah. Are we talking about the one Eli Apple had on Cooper Kupp? That was pass interference.
Yeah, right down there at the inside the 5.
Yeah.
And they threw the flag.
I thought it was pass interference.
Did you?
Yes.
You thought the arm was on the body. It had to be the left arm.
I think their arms are on the body every play of the game. I think it's like calling fouls in the NBA, and it's like holding penalties at the line of scrimmage against the offensive line. You could call it almost every play. If you look at pass interference, here's the definition of pass interference in the NFL. When any act by a player more than 1 yard beyond the line of scrimmage significantly hinders an eligible player's opportunity to catch the ball. Well, there's your key term, significantly, whatever that means. Pass interference can only occur when a forward pass is thrown. Okay, blah, 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 blah. So it's basically significantly hindering a player's ability to catch the ball. That's what we're looking at right there.
No. Yeah. Well, I guess I got to watch it again. I just watched it, live, and then I watched the couple of shots that they showed.
See, yeah. Well, in addition to holding him, I thought he also grabbed he had a good handle on his shirt while he was trying to break to the pylon to catch the ball.
Aren't they allowed to bump a little in the first 5 yards?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I guess that's the difference. I thought they were bumping a little bit. You thought he had a handful of shirt. So, that just goes to show what you're saying is true, that if the ref saw what I saw, he doesn't throw the flag. And if the ref saw what you saw, or whatever. Like you said, it's like holding on the line. You're right.
It's tough.
Yeah. The human element of the game, unfortunately,
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, man. I know you got a lot of calls.
Yep,
I just
absolutely.
wanted to say that about Brady, and to the Brady haters. You know what? Don't miss history. At least respect it. If you weren't around to watch Montana and Bradshaw like I was, go look at their rosters. Each and every year they won a Super Bowl. Same guys.
There you
Easier
go.
if you're playing with the same guys.
Absolutely.
All right.
We appreciate the call. Have a good night.
Thanks, Mark.
And it's a great comment they're made by Danny. The only thing I'll say is that so Bradshaw in particular, if you look at the Steelers roster, not just on the offense but on the defense, was the same team across the board. Just a few missing guys on offense and defense for 4 Super Bowls over 6 years. The Montana teams are almost kind of like 2 teams offensively. You had the Freddie Solomon, Dwight Clark wide receiver duo for the first 2 Super Bowls. Then you had the transition into the Jerry Rice, John Taylor Super Bowl teams. So Montana won 2 Super Bowls without Rice. Certainly. All right. Kyle Pickett, thank you so much for the super chat, and welcome into the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line?
Hey, Mark, it's Michael. How you doing?
Michael, what's going on?
I'm wanting to vent some people that's in the chat right now, but I'm not going to since it's your show. I'll do that for another time. But anyway, what a great game. And yeah, it was a good game, but still, in my opinion, Cincinnati self-imploded at the end of the game there with the penalties.
I didn't have an issue with these penalties. They're hooking guys.
Neither do I.
They've
And
got
I wish
a handle of they've got their shirt in their hands holding them. I hate the number of pass interference calls in the average NFL game, but they're justified. Almost all of them are justified.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I hate to see penalties decide a game. I think everybody does, but that was a clean game. There was hardly any penalties until the last drive, but defenders get desperate in the red zone and they figure, hey, we haven't been called the entire game, and they grab and hold, and that's what was happening. Those were legitimate pass interference in my eyes.
Yeah, the first one was a hold, the second one was pass interference. But anyway, back to what I was saying. It seems like defensive backs are literally at a disadvantage when the field shrinks shorter and shorter when they get inside the red zone and stuff like that. But other than that, it was a good game. And yeah, they did miss one with T. Higgins in the face mask penalty. But my thing is, though, with people and stuff like that, you're always criticizing the officials. Get a rule book, take the test, and go out and see if you can do a better job than we do. I am literally tired of people doing this, man. They're armchair officials. They never get calls wrong. They always get it right. You've never done this in your life. You were scared to go out and try it sometime. If you guys, well, I can't say the other part, but you know what I'm trying to say,
Michael,
Mark.
you seem fired up about this. So you do some officiating?
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right.
And I always go through this every time during the college season as well, and for another stuff like that. I'm trying to enlighten people, but they're afraid to look at the rules and stuff. Just like the Tennessee-Purdue game back in December.
Yep.
I got into so many arguments, I can't even, to my face turned blue in the face. about that.
So do you officiate high school?
I do high school football, yeah, but I also do college baseball and college basketball too.
Okay.
But it's at smaller levels.
I couldn't do that myself. I could not officiate. I would be a horrible official. I got roped into, this happened twice that I can remember. I got roped into umpiring one of my son's baseball games when he was probably 9 or 10 years old, and the umpire didn't show up, and they said, yeah, you know a lot about baseball, and they just grabbed me out of the, I just want to watch my son play baseball, and they make me umpire the baseball game.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing happened one time at one of my girls' softball games. I had to call balls and strikes, and I had to call, and I actually had to call my daughter out on a bang bang play at third base. But anyway, yeah, it's not easy. And with the speed of the athletes in the NFL, oh my word, I couldn't imagine. I would be more concerned about just staying out of their way than making proper calls. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'll say this though. I think I'm so happy for Stafford getting a Super Bowl. Oh, and the Board America got a ring tonight too with Bryson Hopkins, which I'm happy about because it's the first time since Drew Brees.
Who was that? They got a ring?
Bryson Hopkins.
Okay.
Who had a couple of clutch catches.
Yeah.
But I will say this though. I think Joe Burrow will get Cincinnati a Super Bowl championship, but they got to redo that offensive line though, or he's gonna have a short career.
Yeah, they will. They will. And that was a difficult call, like we discussed with another caller. That was a difficult decision for the Bengals to make, but I still think that it proves out that they made the right choice.
Mm-hmm. But I was going to say overall and stuff like that. Oh, I was going to ask you this because I don't know if anybody asked you. So, what was your take about the halftime show?
When is what happening?
What was your take about the halftime show?
Oh, the halftime show. Oh, my word. Well, I tweeted out that this was usually my time to flip around for 20 minutes or, take care of some other things, maybe throw a load of laundry in the washing machine. But my son was around, so he was into it. We just got our pizza and chicken delivered. So, yeah, I knew everybody that was up there, but my son kept asking me, like, do you know who that is? And I'd be like, no, I don't know who that is. And then he'd say, do you know who Dr. Dre is? And I'd say, yeah, I know the name. I don't know anything about him. No, it doesn't appeal to me. No, not my style.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, I was just wondering stuff like that. All right, so live shows tomorrow or Wednesday and Thursday again?
You teed me up, Michael. Tomorrow, Monday at 6:00, I unveil program rankings 1 through 1:30. 1 through 1:30 at 6 p.m. Eastern time on Monday.
Okay. So is this going to be like a 3-hour process? Are you going to include calls too or no?
Sure, we're going to take calls. We're going to take calls and get people's opinion, but I'm going to start the show by just running 1:30 all the way up to number 1, and I'll have to remind people, I'm sure, a number of times, these are not for 2022. These are program rankings. And so, yeah, I'm still working on them, and I'm going to have to type up a lot of graphics.
Too bad I wasn't there. I can help you out with the graphics and stuff like that. Sounds like you're going to be pulling it all. Are you back in college again, doing an all-nighter?
Well, it seems like I'm back in college about every other night when it comes to that.
Yeah, and you got a lot of coffee to get you through the night?
I don't drink coffee. Stay away from the stuff. It does not interest me. It's disgusting.
Not bad. I was just wondering something. So, all right, I'm looking forward to the show tomorrow, and then I'm sure you'll have all kinds of people questioning and stuff like that, but we'll see what happens. All right.
Thank you, Michael.
Sir. Thanks for letting me vent. I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Michael. Have a good night.
Take care.
So Michael reminded me, 6 p.m. Eastern time, live on Monday with our program rankings. Program rankings. We're ranking every FBS program 1:30 all the way up to number 1. Monday, 6 Eastern, and we'll take your calls. Also, shout outs to Realistic, Kyle Pickett, of course. One Scoop, John, thank you so much for making some tweets out to some potential sponsors. Awesome. If everybody would do that, that would be phenomenal. Thank you so much for that. Next up here at the Voice of College Football, let's see who's on the line.
Hey, Mark, we got cut off. What I was saying was
we got cut off.
Alec Baldwin. Yeah, we got cut off. Alec Baldwin, that actor that shot that person allegedly.
We didn't get cut off, so you got
drink coffee.
12 seconds here. Yes, yeah, make your point.
He said Alec Baldwin said he doesn't drink coffee because if he does, he doesn't sound like he sounds like wee. He said it makes his voice all high pitched. He doesn't even sound like himself. That's a good reason not to drink coffee.
I don't drink coffee because it tastes disgusting.
That's why my voice sounds so high pitched. I drink like 3 or 4 cups a day. Otherwise, I would be like James Earl Jones when I talk, you know?
You called back
to
make that point.
No. You brought it up. I didn't think of that by myself. No, what I called back for, by the way, people in the live chat are saying, yay, George is back. But I didn't understand what you said. I had to go back and listen to it after we hung up. You said Bet Us called you? You said Bet Us about a sponsor.
Yes.
Bet Us. Right.
I think that's their,
Listen, man, I think about this shit all day. You know, I used to be a businessman. How do you even know what a starting point is? You need to put a private call into Josh Pate and say, hey, how much should I ask for?
Josh Pate?
I'm thinking bare minimum.
Why Josh Pate?
Thinking bare minimum.
What?
Because he's got a deal.
What? He works for 247. Josh Pate works for 247 Sports. He's an employee. He works for 247 Sports.
Right.
That would be like asking me when I worked at ESPN about their advertising. I didn't know what they were charging for advertising.
You get where I'm coming from, though. You get where I'm coming from. You probably already know the answer to it. And Uncle Lou, somebody that does it already, you know. And listen, you need to have a kicker. You need to make your deal better than their deal. Like if they're giving 100% deposit, you give 200%. Get them all. They come over to Mark's channel, 300%. You know, well, triple your first deposit.
I have definitely had enough sponsors come on here that have offered, you know, throwing products in my direction, or I get a certain percentage for people clicking on a link. I don't need that. It just doesn't come through. Don't need that.
I agree. Can you imagine the brand you've built? If someone's going to get it, they're going to have to pay you for it and act right. You know, it's got to be good. It's got to be real. If you're willing to actually prepare a show and be any more professional than you are, someone's going to have to pay for it.
Yeah, we'll get there.
I'd say bare minimum
I need
bare minimum 300,000 a year.
300,000 a year.
I wrote it down. I figured it out by the hour.
Well,
yeah, but you've got a lot of goodwill built up. You spent like 10 years building the brand.
Well,
you know?
I appreciate that. I need to maybe devote every Monday morning or something to getting a sponsor. I need to get on it.
Just let me win the lottery. It'll be like Mark Rogers sponsored by George. Yeah. Anyway, and I'm not even selling nothing. All I want them to do is hit the like button. Anyway, Exploring with Ben said he sent you like 4 or 5 helmets and a shelf. You have to put up another shelf or 2. I don't know. That's between you and him. I'm just saying he put it in the comment section. So he told me to ask you about that.
I just have to back up the camera.
I know. See, everything's getting so complicated now.
Yeah, a number of people have told me that I have to get more shelves for future helmets. More helmets are coming and that I need more shelves. Well, maybe I could have one right behind me. we'll see.
How about this? You don't change nothing. You just keep rotating the 6 helmets. If they watch all year long, they'll see their helmet there for a week or two. You know,
well, got a lot more than 6 on.
And now you're gonna have to hire somebody to do that. You know, now you got expenditures.
Yeah, well, once I hire somebody, they're not going to be moving helmets around. That's for sure.
Exactly.
They're going to be selling advertising, is what they're going to be doing.
All right, Mark. Today's the greatest day I ever had in my life. I'm in a 3-day heat wave in Portland, Oregon. It's been 66 degrees here for 3 days, basically. And I don't even know what else to say. Just happy, happy, happy. I saw the fake Super Bowl. It was awesome. Everybody's happy in the comment section. I see no arguing. Nothing's going wrong. I haven't said a bad word about Georgia.
I just moved the camera shot. And see, we've got all these other... We've got an entire desk over here that we can load up with helmets right here.
That's actually good. That's good. I see that. There you go. Isn't this fun to start out organically and grow your business? Hey, I'll go on Shark Tank with you. I'll tell you when to take the deal. I'll be like, okay, take that. They get 60% of your company. We'll take 40. I'll take 0. You can have the whole 40.
Let's do it, George. Let's get on that.
Make a deal. We're going to make a deal with Mark Cuban.
Well, George, you know what I hate to enact is the rule that since you called twice tonight, you can't call the next show, and I'm going to miss you.
That wasn't me. That was my brother in Ohio. He keeps calling in saying he was me.
Well, I got to take this call from somebody who I assume is calling for the first time that's waiting right now.
All right. I can't wait to hear it. Talk to you later.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Whoo! And they just hung up. How'd that happen? All right. Somebody with a 317 number. All right. Well, call back if you'd like. Otherwise, yes, Michael's wanting to know if the real MVP is called in tonight. Of course he did. He was the first call right out of the gate. And I pretty much see that it looks like people are going to bed right now. We've gone from maybe 200 on the line to 95. So Kyle's here. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate that. Quote of the week. Quote, I'll make the deal for you. Quote, George, God bless Mark Rogers. Oh, man. For sure, Kyle. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for the contribution, as always. Michael says, Mark, that was me that was going to call you back, but I want to call you tomorrow night, so I will ask you tomorrow night. Yes, please do that. It looks like we're at the end of the line if nobody else wants to call. So we've had a great show. Appreciate everybody being here for our Super Bowl post. And again, look at this. We're going to have a good time on Monday. Monday at 6 Eastern. Monday at 6 Eastern program rankings 1 through 130. We're going to count them up from 130 all the way to number 1 on Monday at 6. Let's see. I'm talking Alabama and Clemson as well. I've got records starting at noon tomorrow. Alabama and Clemson. We're going to have our typical week full of live streams starting with Iowa and Nebraska on Tuesday, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Florida State, Michigan, and Miami on Wednesday, Miami on Thursday, and West Virginia on Friday. Right here at the Voice of College Football. Our guy Sebastian gave me a couple good ideas concerning scheduling. I will produce those videos and get them out in the next day or two. And let's see, what should be the next thing we work on? Maybe all-time program rankings. But yeah, we'll work on that. We've got our program rankings right there for 2022 right here at the Voice of College Football, 6 p.m. Eastern. What a big crowd. And we'll open up the phone lines and talk college football, but specifically our program rankings. See you on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern.